Today is Saturday, the 22nd of April, 2023, and we are gathered for the um, 79th session on mindfulness for beginners in the English medium. And we have Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero joining into today's session representing Nissarana Forest Monastery. Therefore, on behalf of all of us, I would like to welcome Bhante with much respect to today's program. Furthermore, I would also like to welcome all of you who are joining through the Zoom and also through the live stream via the Facebook page of the Satipasala Foundation. So to give you a heads up on how the program is structured, we will start off with an in-session mindfulness practice guided by Bhante so that you can experience it during the live session. And then we will move on to the talk on mindfulness, after which we will continue to the question and answer session where we present the written and verbal reports and questions to Bhante. With that, now I would like to invite Bhante to commence with the in-session mindfulness practice as the first item on our agenda. Over to Bhante, much merits.
Thanks, Namanta. Hello, everybody. As usual, let's start our session with probably like 20 minutes of mindful practice. So today, let's try and do mindful sitting as the practicing part today. So I invite all of you to join more actively. You can turn on the video if you are willing and participate more actively. So today we are going to do mindful sitting. For this, you have to adjust your posture. Make sure that you are comfortable. When you are comfortable in your sitting posture, you can close your eyes and turn your attention towards the present moment. Let's try and be mindful of the surrounding sounds. Notice what are the different sounds that you hear. Notice how there is a variety of sounds coming and going. You may notice how different sounds grab your attention. And among these sounds, there is silence. But the silence doesn't grab our attention. Instead, our attention might go to the body or to a thought or some other sensation. Again, when there is a sound, your attention naturally goes there. You don't have to do much. Instead, simply be aware how these sounds are flowing and how there is a vast silence in between these sounds. Don't try to hold on to anything. Don't try to suppress anything. Instead, allow them to flow naturally while you being aware. Okay, everyone, now you can open your eyes again. So today, instead of our usual mindfulness practice, we try to listen to the surrounding sounds. And among these sounds, we try to notice that there is silence as well. It's like a fabric of silence. And on this silence fabric, you notice the sounds appear. That's how it is. So when we are mindful, we can notice it. We can pay attention to it. We can pay attention to the sounds from the surrounding, and we can pay attention to the silence in between. So this is a very nice mindful exercise that you can do at times of difficulty. Let's say you are really tired at work. So you can just close your eyes for a while and try to listen to the surrounding. Be mindful of the surrounding sounds. Let's say if you are traveling, still you can simply close your eyes and pay attention to the surrounding sounds. So during these difficult times, during these stressful times, you can simply use this as a tool to relax yourself, a tool to let go of the thoughts, difficulties you're having, and instead simply be mindful for a few minutes, few seconds. So that's the idea for today's activity. And with that, Namanta, we can move forward.
Thank you very much, Bhante, for guiding through that session and also through the excellent advice. The next item on our schedule is the talk on mindfulness, and the topic is anger. And I think previous few weeks we have been dwelling on this subject as well. So on behalf of all of us, I would like to invite Bhante again for the talk on mindfulness as scheduled for today. Over to Bhante again. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. We will take some time to discuss a little bit more on the same topic and how we can relate that topic to the day-to-day practice, the mindfulness practice that we are doing. So when we live, we have to go through various experiences. We have to meet various people. So these things are natural to our lives, whether you live in Sri Lanka or whether you live in Europe or whether you live in America, it doesn't matter. Wherever you live, you have to go through these situations, experiences, and encounter various difficult people. So these things are natural. Sometimes they create bad memories. Sometimes these incidents create bad memories. Sometimes these people, they create bad memories. So when these memories are created, when these difficult memories are created, it is natural that we have aversion towards these memories. We feel that they are more like mental wounds, psychological wounds. Again and again, whenever you recall that incident, you have aversion in your mind. You feel pain, you feel sorrow. The situation, the incident, it's in the past, not in the present moment, but still you feel the difficulty. Still you feel the aversion. Still you feel the pain. Still you feel the sorrow created from that memory, created from that incident. Whenever you get this memory, you start thinking. Maybe you worry whether similar thing could happen in the future, whether I would meet a similar type of a person in the future, whether I would have to go through similar type of experience in the future. So based on the past memory, we get aversion in our mind. We get anger in our mind. We get pain, sorrow in our mind. And based on these memories, thoughts are created. Based on these memories, thoughts, we worry about the future as well. That's how, again and again, we create suffering out of the past incidents. It's in the past, but we suffer in the present moment. It's in the past, but we worry about the future as well. So this is how our mind works. It's not only you, it's common to mankind. Everybody's mind is like this. They have various triggers. The triggers differ. Trigger for me might not work for you. You might have some other trigger, right? So the triggers might be different, but still our minds, they work in the same manner, same pattern. Past incidents are there, those memories are there, then thoughts are created out of those memories, then you worry about the future as well. So you can see, although the incident is in the past, you suffer in the present moment. Although incident is in the past, you worry about the future as well. So that's how the human mind works. It's a problem of the humanity. It's not only your problem. So what we do is we try to answer that problem with the practice of mindfulness. Now, when we say mindful, we try to let go of the past. We try to be present. We try to let go of the bad memories, bad thoughts. We try to be in the present. But although we try, it is not that straightforward. It is not that easy. Instead, as soon as you become mindful, those past memories come. Those bad thoughts come. So you thought that you could let go of these past memories. You could let go of these thoughts and try to be mindful. But that's not how it works. Instead, you notice as soon as you become mindful, you get these memories. As soon as you become mindful, you start to notice these thoughts. So that's how we experience it. That's how we feel it. Although you want to let go of these memories, although you want to let go of these thoughts, it's not that easy. It's not that straightforward. So a long time ago, there was this film. The name was Forrest Gump. Maybe most of you are aware of this film. So there was this boy. His name is Forrest, right? So he had some bad incidents, bad memories in his life, and he is mama's boy. So his mama told him that unless you put these bad memories, bad thoughts behind you, you can't move forward. You can't move on with your life unless you put these bad memories, bad thoughts behind you. So this boy, he took the idea literally, and he thought, if I put these bad memories, bad incidents, bad thoughts behind me, then I can move on. I can move on with my life. I can accept the future. So he started running. He took the idea literally, and he thought that if I run, then I can put these bad memories, bad thoughts behind me. Initially, he thought I would run few kilometers and put these behind me. So he ran few kilometers, but still the memories came. Still the thoughts came. So he thought maybe I would have to run few more kilometers. Then he continued on. Still, even after few more kilometers, the bad memories, bad incidents were there. So he thought maybe I would run for a day. Then I could get rid of these bad memories, bad thoughts. So he ran for a day, but still, as soon as he stopped, the memories were there, the thoughts were there. So he kept running, thinking someday I will put these bad memories, bad thoughts behind me by running. So he kept on running and running. Various people from the surrounding, they see this man running for days and days. Right? He eats, he sleeps. As soon as he get awake, he run. Right? So that way he continued for days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months, running from the thoughts, running from the memories, trying to put them behind him. And he ran so far, he came to the west coast of North America. Then he turned around and again he started running. He ran so far, he came to the east coast of North America. Again he turned around and he kept running. He ran for so long, even he was on national television. People, media was chasing him, asking, "Why are you running?" And he say, "I run for no reason. There's no particular reason. Instead, I run for the sake of running." So he ran so long. He ran for weeks and months and years till there were no bad memories, till there were no bad thoughts. So we too think that we can run from them. When you become lost in something, when you get distracted in something, that too is running. When you are intoxicated with alcohol, that too is running. When you have various addictions in your life, that too is running. So in a way, we are running from the reality. In a way, we are running from our thoughts, emotions. Although you run, although you try to avoid, although you try to distract yourself, as soon as you stop, the memories return. As soon as you stop, the thoughts return. It's like you are jumping off a cliff, right? You jump off a cliff, and when you fall through the air, you feel this very nice sensation. You keep avoiding the reality. You are ignorant toward it, right? And we say ignorance is the bliss. If we can be ignorant towards these thoughts, emotions, towards the reality, then we can be blissful. That is worldly idea. The world thinks if you are ignorant towards these things, if you are ignorant towards the reality, then you can be blissful. So it's like jumping off a cliff, right? When you jump off a cliff, while traveling, while falling, you feel some kind of a pleasant sensation because you are traveling through air at a high speed, right? But the problem in that is that when you hit the ground, it's going to be difficult. When you see the ground coming at you at a high speed, it's going to be difficult. So that's how avoiding reality is. You can be ignorant for a while. You can avoid the reality for a while, but soon it will catch up to you. Soon it will return. When that reality returns, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's too difficult. Maybe it is too difficult to bear that reality. So in a way, if we are practicing properly, we have to somewhat accept this reality. That's why most people, they ask, where should I start? The simple answer is that you have to start where you are. That's where you have to start, right? Otherwise, you think that when I let go of these thoughts, emotions, I would practice. When these difficult periods pass, I would practice. When my responsibilities are over, I would practice. When I retire, I would practice. When my children are grown up, I would practice. So that's more like avoiding the reality. You think someday it will be better. You think some future day you can be mindful, you can practice mindfulness. But that's not how it works. Instead, if you are practicing, you have to practice today. If you are practicing, you have to practice here. Here and now, we say. That's the proper way to practice. Otherwise, we are avoiding the reality. We try to be ignorant for a while, and we try to be intoxicated with it, and we try to find bliss in there. But that's not how it works. Instead, the reality is going to catch up to you. When it comes, sometimes it's too difficult. When it comes, sometimes it's life-threatening. So in a way, if you can little by little accept this reality, then that's the proper way of practice. When I say accept, you have to be present more and more. When you be present, maybe the situation is not so pleasant. The reality is not so pleasant, right? You have difficult thoughts, you have difficult emotions, you have bad memories, you have bodily aches, pains. So those things are there. But that's the reality. That reality, if you can accept, then that's the proper way of practice. Among these thoughts, among these memories, among these bodily aches, pains, we try to be mindful that we are walking. We try to be mindful that we are sitting. We try to be mindful that we are breathing. We try to be mindful that we are doing various daily activities. That very practice we are doing again and again. Among these thoughts, among these memories, among these difficulties, we try to be mindful of few steps. We try to be mindful of few breath cycles. We try to be mindful of few sips of water. That way, gradually, you try to be mindful. We try to accept this reality little by little. It's a gradual process. It takes time. So if you can start today, start with 5 minutes of sitting practice. Then probably tomorrow you can make it 6 minutes. The day after tomorrow you can make it 7 minutes. That way, little by little, you are improving your practice. Little by little, you develop this strength to accept the present moment more and more. To accept the reality more and more. That is the proper way of practice. Otherwise, you are trying to be ignorant. You are trying to avoid the reality. You find various excuses. You find various reasons to postpone your practice. But it's not going to work because the reality will eventually catch up to you. And when it comes, you have to somehow face it. So in a way, we are training ourselves to accept the reality more and more. The reality is not always present, but that's fine. That's the reality. It's not some kind of a dream, some kind of a fairy tale. Instead, that's the reality. I accept it. I start where I am and I start walking. I start practicing. Gradually becoming better day by day. Every few minutes of practice, you are becoming better at it. You can't really measure it short term, but when you practice again and again, you realize now I am becoming better at accepting the present moment. Now I am becoming better at accepting the thoughts, emotions, the reality. So that's how we gradually improve our practice. So if you are not practicing at the moment, Try to start with 5 minutes of sitting. Today, can you sit for 5 minutes? Tomorrow, can you make it 6 minutes? Day after tomorrow, can you make it 7 minutes? Every day, you try to practice 1 minute more. If you do it, then within few weeks, you might be able to sit 40 minutes or even longer. When we do these programs for kids, we ask them, can you sit for 1 minute? Your eyes closed, seated in a comfortable manner, and can you be mindful of your breath for 1 minute? And the kids, the children, they say, yes, I can. Then can you make it 2 minutes tomorrow? Can you make it 3 minutes day after tomorrow? And after a few weeks, they come and say, Bhante, now I can sit for 15 minutes. I kept increasing 1 minute per day, and now I can comfortably sit for 15 minutes. So 15 minutes of sitting, when you are a child, it's a really good value addition. If you can teach your children something, then teach them to be mindful at least for 15 minutes daily. Every day, as their regular, usual routine, they try to sit for 15 minutes. And if they continue with that habit, if they continue with that practice, then within few months, within few years, they would be much stronger mentally. Their mental health would be much stronger. And they wouldn't get affected by these worldly matters. Nowadays, you can hear depression everywhere. All the children, when they get 15, 16 years, they are depressed. And they can't even find a reason for it. They just say, I have these bad thoughts. I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like going to school. I don't feel like talking to anybody. I just stay in my room and sleep. So 15 years, 16 years, they are depressed in this modern world. So if you can teach them something, just teach them to sit for a while. 15 minutes of mindful sitting daily. And can you continue with that practice? Every day for 15 minutes, you just simply sit. Like a tree, you just sit for a while. And if you can make that habit, then day by day, you are becoming stronger and stronger, accepting the reality more and more, accepting the present moment more and more. There could be thoughts, there could be emotions. We are not rejecting it. We are not suppressing it. Instead, we know that there are thoughts. We know that there are memories. We don't try to run away from them. Instead, we just be mindful and we allow the present moment to continue. When it continues, you realize after a while the thought is gone. After a while the memory has passed. That's how the present moment is. Every moment it is refreshing. Every moment is afresh. It's only those bad ideas about the past, bad memories about the past, when we take them as so real, then the present moment becomes polluted. It's our attitude towards the present moment that matters. Actually, in origin, the present moment is pure. It is so fresh. But we try to pollute it with the bad memories. We try to pollute it with the bad thoughts. In the original shape, the present moment is fresh. It is not polluted. In the original form, it is pure. It is not polluted. It's only our attitude towards it. It's only us who are polluting it. We are adding various things to pollute it. We are saying, I have done so many things, so I can't be mindful. We are saying, I have gone through various things, so I can't be mindful. We are saying, I have this illness, so I can't be mindful. That's how we pollute this present moment. Otherwise, in its original form, it is so pure. It is unpolluted. It is fresh. But we are adding various things. We add complaints, we add memories, we add thoughts, and we say we can't be mindful. We can't accept this reality. We can't accept this pure present moment because I have done this. Because of these bad memories, because of what happened to me, or because of my illness. So these are excuses that we use to pollute the present moment. But if we take the original form of it, if we take its original form, it is so pure, it is not polluted at all. That's why there was this Zen master, his name was Banke, right? As far as I can remember, his name was Banke. And he was saying, you must see the unborn within. That's his idea. You must see the unborn within. When he say unborn, what does it mean? In us, do we have this unborn nature? You might wonder. But the practitioner, they little by little understand there is this unborn nature in me. And there is this born nature in me as well. When we say our conscious mind, when we say our thoughts, when we say our memories, that is more like the born nature in us. When we think about the past, when we become one with that thought, that is more like the born nature of us. When we plan the future, when we become one with that planning, that is more like the born nature within us. When we become one with the anger, when we go to take revenge, then that is more like born nature within us. But if you can observe it mindfully, that is the very seed of the unborn nature. If you get carried away with it, if you are lost in it, then that's the born nature within you. Now all of us, we know the born nature. We know the anger and how to become one with the anger. We know the thoughts and how to become one with the thoughts. We know the memories and how to become one with the memories. We know the planning and how to become one with the planning. So that is the born nature in us. But there is this unborn nature within us as well. The very seed to plug into this unborn nature is being mindful. If you observe the anger as anger, then that's the seed of the unborn nature within you. If you observe the thoughts as thoughts, then that's the seed of the unborn nature within you. If you observe the planning as planning, then that's the seed of unborn nature within you. If you observe the sounds as sounds, then that's the seed of unborn nature within you. When you keep observing, that very knowing will lead you towards the unborn. Now, most of you have been practicing for a while. So I guarantee you that all of you have experienced this unborn nature within you, but you don't know. You don't know how to label it. You don't know that this is the unborn nature. Usually the born nature we identify. That we know very well. That we can easily relate. But this unborn nature, we don't know. We are unaware of it. So let's say you keep practicing your mindfulness, mindful sitting or mindful walking. Then when you observe your steps, when you observe your breath, then after a while, maybe within 15-20 minutes, you notice that the breath is fading away. An entire sitting becomes more like a flow of things. A flowing river kind of a thing. You see that the sounds are there. You see that the thoughts are there. You see that the bodily sensations are there. But everything is flowing. Your mind doesn't hold on to anything. Everything is flowing. Sometimes you don't know whether you are there. Sometimes after a while you become aware that I am here, flowing with something. This vast flow is there. The thoughts are there, the bodily sensations are there, the sounds are there, various things are there, mental images are there, various things come and go at a rapid speed. So if you have experienced this, that's the unborn nature within. That flow is there all the time. But we don't notice because we are not mindful. We don't notice because we only accept the born nature. Out of this vast flow, things appear, thoughts appear, the sounds appear, the breath appears. Out of this vast flow, various things appear and they become the born things. When a thought appears from this vast flow, it becomes born. When a sensation or a breath appears from this vast flow, it becomes born. When a sound appears from this vast flow, it becomes born. That born nature we know, but with practice, we start to experience this unborn nature within us. It's more like nature's rhythm. In Zen practices, they call it the flow state. You have no control. Instead, everything is flowing. You are simply aware of this flow. While walking also, you get the similar experience. The walking becomes more like faded. You don't know, but you feel like the walking is happening. You are not controlling it. Instead, it is happening. And your attention is with the flow. You feel the body, you feel the sounds, you see the sights, everything is flowing, and you are naturally among these things. That unborn nature you experience even in your day-to-day life. If you are mindful, once in a while you notice that I wasn't there a few minutes ago. I was somewhere else. Now only with a born thought, I am here in the present moment. With a born sensation, I am here in this present moment. With a born sound, I am here in this present moment. But last few minutes, I was lost somewhere else. So you were lost in the unborn nature. Only something appears from it. Then you are born. Then you are born. With a thought, you are born into this world. With a sound, you are born into this world. With a bodily sensation, you are born into this world. So that's how it works. The born nature we know. As soon as it is born, we recognize it. We recognize it as a thought. We recognize it as a memory. We recognize it as a sound. We recognize it as a bodily sensation. But the unborn nature, it's really difficult to recognize it. Only the practitioners, they get to experience this. Only through strong mindfulness, you get to experience this. It's more like the fabric of life. It's there all the time, but we don't notice it. Our attention is not strong enough. Our mindfulness is not strong enough to see this. But you keep practicing. Maybe when you sit, after 20-30 minutes of sitting, you get to experience this for 10 minutes. After 20-30 minutes of walking, you get to experience this for 5 minutes. When your mindfulness becomes stronger and stronger, you penetrate these born things and your mind goes to the unborn nature. It's more like the fabric of life. It's more like a vibration. Everything is there. It's more like an energy. Everything is there. Out of this energy, the thoughts appear. Out of this fabric, the sounds appear. That's why I even mentioned earlier that there's this fabric of silence. On that fabric, the sounds appear. And your attention only goes to the sounds. You don't notice the fabric. Your attention only goes to the born nature. You don't notice the unborn nature. But the practitioner, with repetitive practice, with stronger and stronger mindfulness, they start to notice this unborn nature within them. Gradually, they notice there's this vast flow of things. There's this vast energy. Out of that, the thoughts appear, and I am born. Out of that, the sounds appear, and I am born. Out of that, the memories appear, and I am born. So every moment, we are born into this world with an mind object. With a thought, we are born into this world. With a sound, we are born into this world. With a bodily sensation, we are born into this world. With future planning, we are born into this world. Again and again, this process is happening at a rapid speed. Speed so rapid, you don't even notice the flow behind it. You don't notice the unborn nature behind it. You don't notice this fabric of life. But the practitioner, with repetitive practice, with stronger and stronger mindfulness, they get to experience this unborn nature within them. That's why that teacher is saying you must see the unborn within you. And when you see that unborn nature, when you plug into that unborn nature more and more, when your mind starts appreciating that unborn nature more and more, your born nature is no longer valid. Your born nature is no longer important. Your born nature is no longer of any significance. And the problem is solved right there. When you are born with the thoughts, when you are born with the emotions, when you are born with the anger, you create the suffering. You create the samsara. But if you are not born into anything, then you are blissful. You are peaceful in your mind. As soon as you are born with something, there is friction. And it is more like a continual process. Again and again, various thoughts appear. Again and again, future plans appear. Again and again, you create these things. But if you plug into the unborn nature, then you become one with the universe. You become one with the fabric of life. And when your mind accepts this unborn nature, there's no more suffering in there. There's no more pain in there. That's how you can gradually find lasting peace. In this life itself, you can find it. But you have to work on it. You have to keep practicing. Little by little, you get to experience this unborn nature within you. Again and again, when you practice, you get to experience, you get to plug into that unborn nature more and more. And when you are there, it's like one with the universe. It's like the fabric of life. And there's no pressure, no tension. You are utterly peaceful. As soon as you are born, you get the pressure, you get the tension, you get this friction. So that way, gradually, we can accept this unborn nature within us. That's why that teacher is saying, you must see the unborn within. So I invite all of you to try and practice and try to see this unborn nature within you. So that's the idea for today. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Bante. And it was very insightful to connect mindfulness with the unborn nature and to see it through that lens. Now I would like to invite Sonali to conduct the Q&A session. Over to Sonali, much merits.
Thank you, Namanta. Avasarai Bante. I will start off the session by introducing the guide to mindfulness for the benefit of anyone who has not done that before or is new to the session, or for anyone who needs a refresher. Nissarana has organized a YouTube video on mindful walking, as you can see on the screen now, and mindful sitting. We can follow the videos and then start practicing on your own. Start with any amount of time, 5 minutes, as Bante said before, or move on. Encourage yourself to move forward. And then you can write your report after what you experienced at that point into your own words. And we have some reports that we will be reading later, so you can see the format as to how they are being presented. Once you write them down, you can send it via the Google form, as the details will be in the chat section later, and or via the email, which is beginnersnb@gmail.com. You can share them with us and we will present them to Bante, and Bante will give us his guidance on it. We can now move on to the reports. We have 3 reports we have received today. I will start with the first one. Mindfulness of walking, 20 minutes. Stood at one end of the path, contemplated the standing posture, walked back and forth a few times, observing lifting, moving, and keeping of alternate feet, trying to keep to the present moment. Then pressing of each foot for weight bearing when the other foot is lifting and moving. The warmth and the irregular feel of the carpeted area and the cool smoothness of the tiled area was felt to the soles of the feet. Mindfulness sitting, 25 minutes. Sat on a chair with a straight back, contemplated the posture and relaxed, taking 3 calm long breaths and letting them out slowly. Noted the movement of the in and out breath in the nostril area, the rising of the in-breath, it's peaking with the filling of the nostril and falling away, resembling a graph. And after a short gap, the rising of the out-breath, it's peaking and passing away. As the breaths got progressively subtler, they became shorter and a reduction of the peaking. Ultimately, the stream of air from the in and out breaths were flattened with no peaking. And after a few moments, only a continuous churning noted. Then an in-breath appeared shorter than the first, and a few similar cycles were repeated. Some thoughts and sensations came and went. Mindfulness in daily activities. Making and having breakfast, still trying to do one activity at a time. End of report. Bante, that's the end of the first report.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Now your approach to mindful walking, mindful sitting, and day-to-day mindfulness is good, right? So this is how we are going to approach it. We try to observe our walking process. We try to observe our breath or that we are sitting, right? When we do it, we can notice that the breath is changing. So noticing the change, it's more like the second step. It's not the first step, right? It's initially you have to observe the breath. Initially you have to get hold of the breath. Initially you have to observe the steps. Initially you have to hold on to the steps. You have to identify that prominent sensation and you have to observe it for a while. Then as the second step only, you get to notice the changing nature of that object. That's more like the second step, right? That's more advanced in the practice. Now in your report, you are mentioning this changing nature. You mentioned that the breath is changing like this. The in-breath is like this, out-breath is like this, and it is changing this way. So when you start to notice the change, that's a very good milestone in your practice. Even in the walking process, if you pay attention to your walking sensations, you may notice a similar type of a change there too. When you walk also, you try to notice, and you will notice similar to how the breath is changing, the walking sensations are also changing. So in your practice, you are starting to notice this change. So that's a very good sign that your practice is progressing. Some people, they don't see the change. They notice their breath, they notice their sensations at feet, but they don't notice the change that's happening. So we have to invite them again and again. Is it changing? We have to ask them again and again, is the breath changing? Are the steps changing? So that person might come and say, no, they are not changing. Then we ask them to inquire again and again, look whether the object is changing. You have to have that attitude. If you just blindly observe, you don't see the change. Only when you inquire whether this object is changing, whether the breath is changing, whether the steps are changing, then only you start to notice this change. Some people, their minds are ready, naturally they see the changing nature of the object. Even without the guidance of the teacher, they start to notice the changing nature of the breath. They start to notice the changing nature of the steps or the walking. So their mind is mature enough to accept that change. So again and again, you keep on practicing. When you notice this change, it's more like moving into another phase in your meditation practice. Now the advice should be that try to observe this change more and more. Now in your report, you have a lot of information about the change, how the breath is changing. Try to notice this change more and more. Try to go further and further with that change. Initially today, you might see a certain level, but when you start tomorrow, again you see even further. The day after tomorrow, you even see further. That way, this change is so rapidly happening. Initially, you notice the change, probably like 30 minutes into sitting, you start to notice the change. But now you start to notice 10 minutes into your sitting, you start to notice the change. So you can see the change is happening rapidly when you start to notice it. Now the advice is that you have to notice this change more and more. Tell us what is happening with your breath more and more. Tell us what is happening with your walking process more and more. That approach you have to take. It's more like getting ready for a roller coaster ride. When you notice the change, when you see this breath is changing, when you see this walking process is changing, that's more like getting ready for a roller coaster ride. You have to get ready. When you observe change, you are about to go through that ride, right? So try to observe, try to practice more and more, try to put more time and see how this breath is changing, where this breath is leading me, where this change is leading me. That inquiry you have to do. And even day-to-day life, try to pick certain simple tasks. You might have few simple tasks that you do alone. Let's say brushing your teeth every day, you do twice, right? So pick those moments and try to be mindful. Probably having a cup of tea for 5 minutes, try to be mindful. Sweeping, working, probably cooking. These things, you can really use these opportunities for the practice. Anyway, you are doing these activities. So try to notice when you are cooking, what are the things that you notice? When you brush your teeth, what is your observation? When you have a cup of tea, what is the prominent sensation? That way you have to approach the day-to-day life. So continue and let us know once more.
Thank you, Bhante. I will move on to the second report, again by an adult. Walking meditation. Walked on tiled floor, noting right and left feet being placed initially. The sensations on soles of feet and lower part of the body observed. Uneven surface, warmth, damp between toes, hardness of floor, more on heel than toes noted. The pace increased as drowsiness arose and looked at sun to stay awake. The mind then became more alert and pace slowed to note lifting and moving, placing gaps between them. Then the beginning, middle and end of the lift, move and placing of each foot noted. Walked 45 minutes. Sitting meditation. After the walking meditation, sat to observe breath. Drowsiness appeared, but mind stayed with breath. Aware of sounds, others coming in and out of room, coolness of wind, heat from the sun on skin, sweating, in and out breath noted. Then both became equal in length and disappearing and reappearing in cycles. Mind felt empty, not sleeping, aware of sitting position with back continuously upright. Sat for an hour. Mindfulness during the day. Now mind aware of breath when walking and going to sleep. Position of body, warmth, touch of sheets, clothes noted. Body sensations in day also felt more. Vibrations, electric shock like ripples, cold waves passing through body and head. During the day, at times, when walking, mind automatically going to feet and focus on sensations. Now catching thoughts of irritation, anger arising, greed, hunger, thirst more than before. Able to inspect actions with this, then annoyed about a comment, able to separate the thought and feeling. Noting former as an irritable thought and feeling that arises as unpleasant, both arising as a result of sound. Observing how both the thought and feeling pass after a short time. Mind taking another object. Another time, irritation noted and felt hunger. Remembering the saying, a hungry man is an angry man. Decided to eat as was aware that the hunger may be one of the causes for irritability. Another time, noted annoyance at a request for action to help another. Suggesting my involvement would be vital for a successful outcome and less responsibility on the person requesting it. Decided to meditate to and see and that what came up. As breath was being observed, wisdom arose. Recognizing if cause and conditions were right, then the outcome would be successful. The recognition that the request would be carried out, but understanding there was no I, helped to stay calm and not cling to the irritation which reduced gradually, especially after discussion with the Kalyana Mitra. End of report. Much gratitude to Bhante and the organizers.
Okay, now in your report, you mentioned that your attention naturally goes to the feet during your day-to-day practice as well. So that's the result of repetitive practice. Otherwise, earlier, probably before mindfulness, your attention naturally goes to the thoughts. Your attention naturally goes to the emotions. That's where your attention is. Majority of the time, you are there. And at the end of the day, you come and complain that I feel frustrated, I feel stressed, I feel anxiety. Because your attention is with the thoughts, with the emotions most of the time. And they create friction. That is natural. They create anxiety. Natural. They create tension. Natural. But when you practice, you can gradually see how the mind is changing. It's always changing, right? So you have to feed the proper things. And if you feed the proper things, the mind changes. Now, instead of the naturally going to the thoughts, spending more and more time there, instead of naturally going to the emotions, spending more and more time there, your attention naturally comes to the feet. So that's the neuroplasticity. That's the realization in this life itself. Gradually you move towards that path. Small steps, we say. Every day you take few steps. Gradually you start to see the change happening. So it says that you feed various things to this body. Let's say rice. You feed rice to this body. And you grind rice using your teeth. But if you really think about it, the teeth is also made out of the rice that you ate. Maybe after a few years, gradually, that transformation happened. So every organ in your body is made out of the things that you ate. So you keep feeding this food and gradually they become the body. Whatever you feed, it becomes natural to your body, right? You feed healthy food, the body become healthy. You feed fast food, the body become unhealthy. That's how it is. So same goes with the mind. You can see this body physically at work. You can see this body, how it is making this body out of the rice, how it is making this body out of the vegetables, how it is making this body out of the fish and meat that you eat. Similarly, the mind is also, it's similar. All the time we are feeding this mind. Every time you are feeding. Whenever you go somewhere, you are feeding. Whenever you talk to somebody, you are feeding. Whenever you think, thoughts, memories, various things come, you are feeding this mind. So again and again, you keep feeding it. You feed the healthy things, it will become healthy. You feed the unhealthy things, it becomes unhealthy. So instead of the thinking thoughts, instead of the wandering mind, instead of the proliferating mind, now you feed the present moment to it. Now you feed being mindful more and more. So after a while, you see it is naturally coming to the feet. It is naturally accepting the present moment. So that's a very good sign that we can change this mind. The transformation is possible. In this very life, you can do it. Right? So when you see that transformation, when you see that changing nature, you can be more encouraged towards the practice. You can have more and more energy towards the practice. I see this change is happening. I have my evidence. When you see those evidence, when you see that change is happening, that is a motivating factor. You can put more and more energy towards the practice. I'm not suggesting to struggle with the practice. And so naturally, you keep on practicing. You become more and more energized. You become more and more motivated to practice because now you see the change. Earlier, it was a word from somebody else. Earlier, it was a word from Buddha. But now, you know for yourself. You know that change is possible. You know that change is happening. When you see that, it's natural that you get motivated. It's natural that you get energized. So keep on practicing. Try to take this approach more and more. And eventually you realize the thoughts are there, but they don't have any significance. The emotions are there, but they don't have any significance because your mind has accepted this present moment more and more. Your mind prefers this present moment more and more. Certain incidents happen, certain difficult people you have to meet. At times your mind start again thinking, wondering, worrying. Those things come. But compared to earlier times, you see they don't last that long. Again you become the present. Again your mind comes to the present moment. So this is how naturally the mind is changing. Whatever you feed, it is changing according to that. So earlier you kept feeding it unhealthy food. Now you try to feed it healthy. So that's why I say that meditation is more like a diet to your mind. You are on a healthy diet. Instead of the fast food, you eat the healthy food. Instead of the chemicals, you eat the natural food. Similarly, instead of the thinking thoughts, instead of worrying, instead of anxiety, you feed the present moment more and more. More you feed, more natural it becomes your mind. So continue your practice. You have things to be motivated. You have things to be energized.
Thank you, Bhante. I will move straight on to the last report. Mindful walking. Walked outdoors on the pavement, noted how the upper body moved backwards to keep the balance while going down the steep hill near home. Leg muscles were tightened up too. Once reaching the flatter area, these muscles had relaxed. Needed to focus to feel the sensations of parts of the soles, but it was difficult with shoes on. Became aware of the whole of each sole when it was placed alternatively while walking. Awareness would move to the body weight shifting or checking if it's safe to cross the road too. Noted how the whole body was vibrating due to the movement of walking, such as has face, back, chest, and stomach. This is very different from doing sitting practice when subtle vibrations are felt at various times. Sights and sounds in the background noted, but weren't distracting. Walked for 40 minutes. Mindful sitting. Sat on the cushion and adjusted the body into balanced position. After a quick body scan, the breath appeared. In-breath was cooler, out-breath warmer. Natural rhythm of breathing noted fairly quickly. Thoughts would come up from time to time, but felt like these weren't fully formed and passed away soon. Breath felt subtle now and noted the rise and fall of stomach and expansion and contraction of the chest a bit more prominent than the breath near nostrils. Couple of waves of vibrations swept through the body, which felt like electric pulses. This passed away. Noted the silence inside and out. Feeling of peacefulness arose in the mind. Slight back and forth movement of upper body noted, but this too faded away and stillness noted. Sat for 1 hour. Mindfulness during the day. As anger is the topic for this month, I wanted to share following experience. Went to the theatre a couple of days ago, having arrived early and because it was drizzling, went inside and sat at the allocated seat. That's when the blaring music was noted. Irritation and annoyance came up in the mind. Inner chatter noted as follows. It is too loud. Whose idea was it? This is no music, but continuous noise. Could stop the inner chatter once became aware of it. The option to leave the hall until the play started came up as an option. Another option was to sit through and see what happened, which was what I did. There was a shift in the mind with the choice and attention moved to a description of the whole, such as size, shape, color, drapes, then noted small gaps between loud music from time to time. Noted this was similar to breath breaking up in mindful sitting. Then someone sat behind me in the next row. There was a lot of banging with their knees into the back of my seat. The annoyance and irritation came up right back. Checked what the inner chatter was this time. It went something like, don't they know how to behave in public places? Can't they just keep their knees away from my seat? Is this how I will be for the next 3 hours for the play? Someone banging the seat consistently. Wanted to laugh just as humor of the situation was noted. Looking sideways, I saw it was a tall female sitting behind me, and the sitting is arranged with minimal legroom in some of these theatres that are centuries old. Maybe people were smaller back then. She clearly was in discomfort due to the lack of space. If she wanted to adjust and readjust her knees, it had to be fine, as there's nothing she or I could do about the size. This is the moment the mind went to laugh, because in the reactive emotional space, everything was taken personally. With healthy reflecting, very little taken as personal. I actually don't remember if the banging on the back of my seat continued or not during the play. Dear Bhante, look forward to your feedback. End of report.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. That is more related to our topic as well. So this is how life is. They say you have certain expectations that I should be treated like this. I should get a seat like this. It should happen like this. So we have expectations, right? But when it comes to reality, you get treated badly. Things don't go according to your plan. So there is always a gap between the expectations versus the reality. That is how the life is. So they say the gap between the expectations and the reality, you have to feel it with humor. So that's why humor is a very valuable quality. Whatever happens, you try to find some humor in it. And when you find it, you can laugh at your own mistakes. You can laugh at your own thoughts. You can laugh at your own irritations and somehow survive the situation. If you take it too seriously, then you are creating more and more trouble. If you take it too seriously, then you are creating more and more friction. But when you have humor within you, you can feel that gap. The gap between expectations versus the reality, that you can feel with humor. It's a very valuable quality. You see the mistakes, you can laugh it out. You see your faults, you can laugh at you. You see others' faults, you find humor in it. Otherwise, if you take it too personally, it feels like everything is happening against me. The universe is against me. Everybody is against me. Everything happens targeting me. So the entire universe surrounds around yourself. You are the center to the entire universe. That's how your thought pattern is. You complain, you worry, you blame people. Because everybody is targeting you. Every situation is happening against you. The universe is out there to get you. That's the self-centered you. This person is trying to annoy me. But when you truly see the reality, when you have the awareness, you notice that there's no leg space. That person is too struggling. You two are struggling due to the same situation. Otherwise, you could get into an argument, blame that person, then that person would react. So you can't enjoy the play at all. So that's how it is, right? If you think that way, if you take it too personally, then it feels like everybody is targeting you. The universe is out there to get you. But when you have the mindfulness, when you have the humor, gradually you realize it's not my fault. It's not somebody else's fault. That's how it is. easier to let go, and you can continue with your life. Easier to enjoy at least the remaining part of the play. So this is what the practice brings to us, our life. This is how the practice is helping us. Again and again, you can keep on observing. Again and again, you can see how you can relate this practice.
Okay, we can't really hear you. Looks like there's connection issues from Bante's end. We will give it another moment to see if Bante reconnects. Bante, we couldn't hear you for a few moments. Looks like there's connection
Can you
issues.
hear me now?
Yes, I think it's okay now.
Okay, so I was telling, this is how you can relate this practice to your life. It's not something that you have to go and do in a monastery. It's not something that you have to go and do in a forest. Instead, wherever you are, whatever you do, this practice is very much related to your day-to-day life. It is very much related to your life. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, you can use that situation, you can use that encounter to practice. So probably you are watching a play, still you are practicing. Probably you are going to work, still you practice. You talk to somebody, still you practice. That's how we can really relate this to our day-to-day life. And you can see, although we call it meditation, although we call it mindfulness, it is really living. It is really living. It is an invitation to live. It is an invitation to be aware of your day-to-day encounters, be aware of your day-to-day situations. And when you are aware, you can see how the practice is helping you, how the practice is changing you. Probably earlier you would have reacted in a different manner. But now, with the help of the practice, you reacted in a different manner, or more like you reflected on the situation, and things worked out much better. So that's how we can really relate this to the day-to-day life. Wherever you are, whatever you do, you can really relate this to your life. Just thank you for sharing. And that is very much related to the topic of the month.
Thank you, Bante. And thank you to everyone who had sent us reports. We all can relate to most of these things that you have sent. Unfortunately, we are out of time again today, but we'd like to open it out to maybe one question. And we can see, since we didn't open it out last week as well, if anyone has questions, if you could quickly raise your hand and ask the question. I don't see any raised hands, and I don't want to take any more time. Oh, but one person. Hiranti, would you like to unmute and ask your question? Hiranti, you can ask your question now. Are you having trouble unmuting yourself, or?
Is that okay now?
Yeah, that's fine. We can hear you.
I'm having problems with the distinguishing the in and out breath when I'm doing the breathing meditation, Bante. Should I continue, or just, is there anything I'm doing wrong?
Did you notice the difference before?
No, not at all. But it's going smoothly in the sense that I'm continuing. I don't divert my attention to anything, but I am on the breath.
Yeah, if you know that you are observing the breath, then just continue.
Yes, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I can't distinguish whether it's in breath coming in or going out. It's just like very slow process, but I'm quite happy and I'm very peaceful and still, but can't distinguish whether it's in-breath or out-breath, or whether the in-breath is coming to the right nostril and out-breath is going from the left nostril, or that differentiation cannot be observed, Bhante. Is there
That's
anything I
fine.
need to worry?
That's fine.
Sorry.
You observe whatever that's there, right? You are happy and peaceful there. So if you start worrying about something that's not there, then that happiness disappears. That peace becomes an irritation, right? So instead, observe what's there. Accept what's there, right? You feel this subtle sensation. There's no difference between the in-breath or the out-breath. But that's fine. Just keep on observing that sensation, right? Tell us how that sensation is changing, whether that sensation is changing. That attitude you have to have. You are observing, you are inquiring to see whether that sensation is changing, right? So that's how you should practice. Try to see this subtle sensation that I am observing. How is it? Is it changing? Is it constant? Right? You have to observe again and again, not just once, not just twice. Observe again and again. Next time, tell us how that subtle sensation is changing.
Okay,
You don't
Bhante.
have to
So
go
I'll
after in-breath or out-breath. What's there, you can observe.
So just continue it for further.
Not just continuing, you have to observe the change of that sensation, whether that sensation is changing.
Okay, yeah.
Do you understand what I am saying? Now you notice this sensation, this subtle sensation. That's all you feel. Try to see whether that sensation is constant or whether that sensation is changing. That observation you have to do against time. Right? When you sit for like 20, 30, 40 minutes, you can keep on observing that subtle sensation and tell us whether that sensation stayed the same for entire 40 minutes or whether that sensation changed.
Okay, thank you. I understood, Bhante. I will comment on it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Hiranti, and thank you, Bhante. We have already taken 10 minutes extra from your allocated time, so we will not take any more questions. Namanta, would you like to take on to end the session today?
Thank you very much, and much merits Sonali, and also much thanks to Bhante, and thank you. We will wrap up the session as we have gone no time. So we had a session on with in-session practice, and then the talk on the subject topic, which was anger, and then we discussed a lot of things on mindfulness through the Q&A. And I would like to share all merits gathered with Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for arriving into our program today, and also providing all this insightful advice on mindfulness practice, and hope these merits move on to improve Bhante's own practice as a result and an outcome. Also, I would like to thank and mention the name of Most Venerable Bhante Udayirigama Dhammajiva Mahathero, who insightfully requested this program to be initiated, and we are all seeing a lot of benefit through this program, as witnessed by now. Furthermore, I would also like to thank and mention and pass on merits to all the organizers who have worked hard at the beginning and who are still working hard with dedication to this program. Thank you, and I pass on all merits to you. Plus, all those of you who are attending the program regularly are a great asset to the program. So I pass on all these merits, and that wish that all of your mindfulness efforts will be fruitful, and you will advance in your practice each day, each moment. So with that, I would like to wish you all a happy and mindful week ahead, and also invite you to join the next week's session, which will be held at a similar time. So with that, I would choose to end the session now. Much merits to Bante and everyone. Thank you. See you next week.